Jen's career. Let's talk about it.
I wasn't a baby.
No, but you have sustained an enormous, career and success.
It's a talent. I'm just saying,
called talent.
So every time I get to sit, I'm sitting here, I was nervous. I mean, I'll start to cry. But, I'm motivated. I'm still here. We're still here.
Yeah.
Hello, and welcome to Off Script with The Hollywood Reporter. I'm your host, Betty Boop, or better known as Yvonne Orji, and I am here at the beautiful Georgian Hotel in sunny Santa Monica, California. Guys, today's roundtable is packing so much heat, you are gonna need that good SPF. I'm talking about 50, not 30. Between their numerous Oscars, Emmys, and decades in Hollywood, this is undeniably an iconic panel. You are about to hear from 7 women who lead today's hottest drama series. I am talking about none other than Jennifer Aniston of The Morning Show, Jodie Foster of True Detective, Night Country, Nicole Kidman of Expats and Special Ops Lioness, Brie Larson of Lessons in Chemistry, Anna Sawai of Shogun, Sofia Vergara of Griselda, and Naomi Watts of Feud, Capote versus the Swans. They are on the record, but just a little off script with The Hollywood Reporter. Take it away, Lacey.
Thanks, Yvonne, and thank you all for being here. I'm going to start with a question for everybody. With a show of hands, who's ever lied to land a job?
When?
Yeah.
Just now?
I don't know for sure.
Probably. Yes,
Okay,
for sure. But
We all lied that we knew how to ride a horse and we couldn't.
yeah.
No, I can ride a horse,
Okay, so you didn't have to lie about that.
but I did lie about ice skating.
You guys. That's a dangerous
Not a good one to lie about.
No.
Yeah, that's a hard
I didn't like to get a job, but I lied to my agent so that they would take me when I moved to LA. I said that I could sing and dance and everything. Why not? And then they sent me to an audition for Chicago on Broadway. And I said, I'm like, no, I can't do it. I never thought they were going to send me for something like that. But I said, yes. And I went and I got the part.
What?
Yeah,
And then
I played
what
Mama
happened?
Morton in Chicago.
I might have not been I'm not full disclosure about, I said I couldn't ride a horse just because I didn't want to ride the horse.
There.
That was,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think I've definitely added special skills to resume.
What could you
multiple languages and
Perfect. Yep.
definitely probably lots of weird sports.
Well, you can.
But I am
She's
quite
sporty.
sporty. I can learn a sport. I mean, I did
And
learn
you
to
can
ride a
dance.
tricycle for a movie once on a pier, but I'd never do it again, obviously.
A tricycle?
A tricycle.
Ride a tricycle.
No, wait. Unicycle.
Oh my God!
Lucy, were you okay?
We're all like special skills.
Jodie, I'm going to start with you. You have reached out to a lot of young actresses, I keep hearing. What prompts the outreach, and what do you typically say?
Oh, it kind of depends, right? Sometimes you'll really. It's such a difficult process, and especially now, I don't even know how a young actor can come up with all the social media and all that. So, yeah, I guess I fancy myself as some kind of mother figure, where if I see somebody drunk and on their face, for example, at an event, I might be like, "So what's going on?"
You really will. You'll call and...
Yeah, I feel for them. You know, I really am grateful for my mom when I was young, getting me through all of that, and somehow I managed to have a series of roles that allowed me to survive, I think.
What are the things you all sort of wish somebody had called and told you, whether it's sort of right now in your career or at the beginning of your careers?
Just allow yourself to be you and not compare yourself to other people the whole time. I remember I lived very much under the radar for about 10 years and was auditioning, and you only get the scenes, and so you're trying to imagine who this character is, and like, oh, if they need a funny person, I'll be funny, or I'll be intense, I'll be sexy, but it's like, just bring some of you into the room, and that's what they're looking for. And so I was always doing that, and then finding myself, in a waiting room with 10, 12 people who are sitting there learning, and I'm going, oh God, she looks sexy. I should be sexier. I wore the wrong outfit, or she looks intelligent. Oh, let me put some glasses on. Or, you're always trying to sort of fabricate this person that's so removed from
you.
Yeah. So
I think you can say no was important for me for whatever reason. I didn't know that when I was young, that I could say no.
yeah.
And maybe I think this new generation, that's what's good about this new generation, is they're very comfortable with saying no. They're very good at like setting boundaries and going like, I don't like that and I want to do this. And I didn't know that was possible when I was young.
And need the support from us, or you need the support when you do say no from the others to go, yeah, that's fine. Let's what do we do here? And that's the great thing when you're in a position of producing power or something where you go, well, no, we need to listen to this, we need to honor it, and we need to change the way we're doing something. And that is an incredible position to be able to operate from.
Yeah, because there's always a solution to the no.
Yes.
Just that they would
You can
rather not
adjust.
have hear the no.
Well, yeah.
Obviously.
You had the confidence, the gumption to say, you're 13, 14 years old, to say, well, wait a second, this doesn't feel right, this doesn't feel like me. I guess I'm curious sort of where that comes from, but also how it's received.
Oh, not well.
Not well.
Yeah, no. I'm just more comfortable with how uncomfortable it makes people that I'm very clear about what a yes and a no is for me. And I think I've learned that if I can understand what a no is and be able to say it before I'm upset about it, it's a much better conversation. Some people are surprised, I think, by how quick and concise I can be about things, but I think it actually just avoids a lot of drama in the end.
Sure.
Because the thing I like to remind myself is that no matter what, like, you all can have what you want with me on set, but I have to go home and live with myself. And it's a lot of the time you learn what your no's are from saying yes to it or being in the heat of the moment. And then you go home and you're like, why do I feel bad?
Yep.
And sometimes they're little sneaky things. Sometimes it's clear. Sometimes you're like, oh yeah, it was those little tiny things that actually added up and made me feel not good. And I have a whole job to do, So I've just become very confident with that part of it, about like that I'm in charge of myself, which I know is like such a small thing, but it's tough. If you haven't been on a set, it's hard to understand, I think, like how quick the pace of everything, and that you feel like there's this pressure and you're going to let people down. And instead you learn that you're letting yourself down, not to let everybody else down. And that just doesn't work. Not to say that I have a perfect track record. Of course, there were times where I was like, please, someone love me. That's just like part of it too.
That's
but
human
I
nature.
will say that, yeah, I'm good with no. No, I've got handled, I think.
And your team was very supportive of that. Oh, nice.
Yeah, they were. They were.
Because I was working in Japan for a while, and they were like, to say yes is the most mature thing that you can do. Always say yes. Don't really tell us what you want. We've been doing this for the longest time, so just trust us. And so it's only been recent years that I've been starting to get used to saying what I want. And it's so refreshing, because my team will be like, what do you want to do? And I'm like, me? Like, I'm allowed to say it. So yeah, it's been a slow process, but it was difficult in Japan.
I still have trouble with it, I have
With
to
no?
say. Yeah, I do.
Which pieces
I
of no?
still will
What
fall.
aspects of no, and in
I
what
think
situations?
Before the job or
sometimes it's-
during the job?
No, because it's sometimes blurry for me, because sometimes I can bristle and be like, no. And then when I kind of feel it out and do something, I'm like, oh, this wasn't so bad. So it's kind of trying to find my own inner voice that I'm like, is this me just reacting? Or is it me really needing to protect myself now? Because part of what we do, you dive into things that are deeply uncomfortable. So the idea of like, and I've had to teach myself to not always go, oh, I can't do that. My initial reaction can actually be that, instead of, okay, ease into it, because I sort of need to be coaxed sometimes. So it's finding that, I'm still finding that compass.
There's times when you think, oh, I can't do that, I can't do it, and then you need the support of, you actually can. You actually can, because it'll just be more of a fear-based no than
a legitimate, like,
actual no.
this is dangerous, or this is you're gonna feel terrible about this,
Yeah.
which I've also had.
Yes.
But there's times when I've gone, gosh, I'm glad I didn't give in to that initial reaction.
And I
so
feel like
can't.
as you get older, I mean, I say yes more easily, because I just feel like I want to be open to as many experiences as possible, and yes, go into the discomfort zone as much as I can and grow. And I mean, I think you said it beautifully, the Andy Warhol quote of like, just say yes, make art, and get what you can out of it, fall into it, grow, and let others decide what it is or not. But you just keep going.
I think what I'm hearing in all this, because I'm kind of defining it now for myself, is like, it's not like anything that's getting in the way of doing the best work that I possibly can. That's where my yeses and nos come in. If I feel like there's something, whether it's a yes or a no, that's like, ooh, that's going to make me so uncomfortable, I can't focus and do what I need to do. Or like, this is a yes, and like the fear stuff is like the best part, I think.
Yeah.
Like when you're like, oh, I know I'm supposed to do this and I'm so scared, that's different. But when it's like things that are toggling so that you can actually just do work that feels responsible and safe, that's where those yeses and nos come in for me. Yeah.
There's another piece of outreach that I think I've heard you say you do, which is if you read someone's going to play a superhero character, you'll reach out. We need to know what the superhero tips are. What are they?
I always do.
You're a mentor?
Always. Always. I'm like the first person to email everybody. Yeah, because it's very specific and very strange. And people are like, I don't know how to do this. I'm like, yeah, no one does. Why would you?
So what do you say? Give us some wisdom.
Well, I mean, the simple things are, as I say, like, be as prepared in your body as you possibly can so that you feel like you can take it on, because it only gets harder as the job goes on. Really understand how to be able to go to the bathroom in your suit.
Like zippers? Is that what that is?
Yeah, I mean, it was like the first Captain Marvel. Yeah, don't drink. Don't do anything to make it harder for yourself the next day. I mean, the first Captain Marvel, it was like a 45-minute thing to get me in and out of that costume to go to the bathroom. Yeah. And it took like someone helping me.
So there wasn't even a little like secret trapdoor?
That's why I'm like, get a plan and understand.
So little zippers.
I don't understand it when people have to wait for me to go to the bathroom. So I would always have to time it out. I have to be like, okay, we have a long break.
That would give me anxiety.
Yeah, it's a whole thing.
You can't have a sip of water.
It's a whole thing. And it can feel, it's a lot of pressure. And I think it's a strange thing, especially when you're a newcomer and you're tasked with being the most powerful blah, blah, blah of blah, blah, blah. And you feel scared. Like, it's so hard to be like the cool, confident one when you're like, do I know what I'm supposed to be doing? And so it's just the initial conversation. And then it's also like, please just call me or text me if you're like, I don't understand. Like, and a lot of people are like, how do you do it with just like a tape marker, a blue wall? And you know, there's things like that. But more than anything, it's just, I remember feeling so petrified. And I felt very lucky that I came into Marvel at a time when it was this 10-year anniversary. So I was around everybody on Avengers, and I was like, will you help me? I'm the new superhero. And they're like, you got it, kid. And like, but people gave me like actual tangible pieces of advice and felt like they were an open sounding board. And just having that made me feel like it was okay that I was there.
Sure.
Yeah.
For everyone, what if we were sort of going to describe the current era of your careers in terms of what's coming at you? Projects that you're approached with, are there some through lines? I feel like the last time I sat with you, Jen, it was a lot of really dark material that was coming your way. I don't know if you're still in that chapter or if we've moved to a new one.
Well, they've kind of falls in between, because living in that dark space, as a comedian, ultimately when I started, it's not easy. It's really hard. And that's why, going home, I would listen to Smartless on my way to work and home from work just to laugh and get out of that. I don't go home and live in my character, which I know some people do. And that's really awesome that's how their method is wonderful. I choose to just get rid of it as fast as I can. But I usually say I need a comedy right now. I need some levity. So that's usually it's not. Yeah.
What about you, Sofia?
Well, it's interesting because I feel very awkward now here because this is like my favorite group of actresses, and I realize I don't know anything about acting. And no, but it's not in a bad way. It's like it's just a reality, And if I have to say no or yes on all those things, maybe because I started so late in my life to want to be in this career, it's to me, it was more like a lucky thing. Let's see if I can fool everyone, you know? I feel like the worst that could happen if I say no or yes to something is that, you know, it's gonna be bad and whatever. We're not doing a brain surgery to anyone. We're not ruining their lives. So I take it as a gift, the opportunity, or I invent the opportunity, thinking, what is the worst that could happen? If they don't like me, they don't like me. If they like me, they like me. And for example, as a comedic actress, I'm not comfortable even saying that I did do 11 years of Modern Family, but it was almost playing myself in a way, what you were saying at the beginning. It was like, how am I gonna do this? I had never went to an acting class in my life. I just went to an audition and this thing. So I'm like, oh, that's why I'm always, it's like a gift. It's like, oh, yes, okay, let's do it, you know? Wow. So I created this character from more of like my family. I knew this character, so I was like, I'm gonna do it. And then when I started to decide to do something different, it's hard because this accent is beautiful. And, you know, it's like, I cannot be a scientist, obviously. I cannot be an astronaut.
Sure you can.
Yeah, what? Who's telling you can't?
Yeah, if I produce the movie and it's gonna be not great.
No, that's what she wants next.
Let's make it happen.
No, I don't want to. I don't want to be a scientist.
I've seen scientists.
But that's why, for example, when I decided to do Griselda, I was like, it was never thinking, oh, I want to people not to think that I'm only, you know, Gloria or this thing. No, it was that character. It's like, I know that character. I lived there. I live in Colombia in that era. And I'm like, can I do it? I think I can because I mean, my brother was a drug dealer and unfortunately he got killed at that era. Like I knew that person the same way I knew Gloria. But I've never seen it as a woman. I knew it as a man, many million. I lived there in Colombia. And then I said, maybe I cannot do it. And I said, I'm gonna find out who Jennifer Aniston worked with.
I was just gonna say. Because by the way, every time I go to work, even in 2 months when I start the next season of Morning Show, I don't know. I'm like, I don't know how to do this. I don't know what I'm doing. Absolutely zero memory of how to be an actor or any rules or anything.
Like starting again.
It starts all over every
It's
time.
crazy, but I
That's
found
exciting.
a person. I found a person that I'm like, who did she go to sometimes to prepare? And I found Nancy Banks.
Okay, good. I was just gonna say.
And I said, can you maybe help me with this thing? I've never done this, but I don't care if it's bad or good or something. But I want to do it. Let me do it. Help me do it.
So
And
brilliant.
so-
I'm so happy that
you did
happened.
incredible.
Yeah.
It was
Unbelievable.
So I try not to think too much of yes or no's or yes, and because I started old, I'm 52 years old, and I started when I was 37, so I already knew how to say no. Right. You know? So, nah.
What does come
That's
your
a
way?
good no.
What is presented to you? What comes across your inbox?
Comedy, which I loved. I don't want to be Gloria again.
Yep.
Maybe because I don't know if I can. I don't know yet if I can do more different comedy that is not. I cannot take this accent away, no matter what. I tried. Like at the beginning of my career, I'm like, I cannot. When I moved to LA, I'm like, I cannot believe why Penelope Cruz or Salma Hayek don't change their accent. They're gonna have so much more opportunities. I'm gonna do it. Of course, it's like I spend so much money, time with fucking,
You can curse.
with people teaching me how to. It
Yeah.
was a waste of my time. I would go to the auditions, and all I could think was like, where do I put the tongue to do the? I'm like, listen, I can't do this. I can't. I'm gonna go back either to Miami or I'm just gonna start going with this. But then this, of course, limits you. This limits you.
Point,
Yeah, but there you know how to do every accent in the world.
Oh, with help.
a lot of help.
Even with an operation, they cannot help. It's like there is no. I've tried. It's like no. So I think now I'm more into what I want to create for me, and because Griselda did so well, now a lot of people are like, yeah, what else do you have? What else do you have? So I'm
Right.
gonna
What
take
a
advantage
neat
of
up,
it.
yeah.
So exciting.
Totally.
So are people changing? Is the tide changing now? Will you be more interested in that kind of work?
Yes.
Or,
Yeah, but you know what? I don't know if I want to do something like that exactly because
yeah, that.
I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know what it meant. I don't know how you guys do it, because what it is, the pleasure of going to a set to laugh all day, the lines, the people, the friend you crack out. I mean, but drama is a complete crazy thing. It's like, and I had never acted, and this sounds ridiculous, but I had never acted in Spanish, only in this perfect English.
Oh wow, no kidding. Oh, you need to make a Spanish language movie.
No, I did.
Where
The
she plays
Griselda
the
is it has Spanish, have English, but that's why it was so hard. Because it was like, I didn't know to. Only this perfect English was what I knew.
But
it's funny.
It was beautiful, though.
Like, Nick, do you find if you play Australian, you have to get coached? No, you've not. Okay, well, yeah, she's much more Aussie than me. She's a proper Aussie. I've got some British in there, and I.
Can you hear that?
No, I
Some British in there.
and I didn't move to Australia. Yes, English, Australian, and changing my accent in so many different shows, characters, or whatever. I forget where my own voice is sometimes because you work so hard to be understood. You know, like in a restaurant, I don't ask for water. I ask for water or butter. You know, because people are like, what? Oh, where are you come from? You know, like, oh, forget it, just water.
That's my life. That's my life.
Yeah.
Anyway. I love it. Anna, I've heard you initially feared with Shogun that it would be another sort of depiction of Japanese women being sexualized by white men.
Right.
I guess I'm curious how many other projects had crossed your desk where that was precisely what was happening.
It wasn't just Japanese women being sexualized. It was always that they were defined by the relationship that they had with the male character, or they weren't. We didn't really understand their story enough. Like, they were always just like the sub character. And oftentimes when you hear Japanese women, you think, oh, they're obedient, they're sexy, or they can do just, action somehow. And for me, it's like, that's not who we are. We're so much more complex. And even if we do appear obedient, it's because society has made us that way, and there's so much that's bottled inside. And I'd never seen in Western media a complex woman with depth who had their own story, who wasn't just with the male character. And so when I read the sides, it was my character going into a bath with the white pilot. And I was like, okay, this is going to be the same thing. And I played it in that way, and they didn't call me back. And then I had a conversation with our showrunner, and he explained that it wasn't that kind of scene. Like, he wanted it to be the connection that they have with their background, their history, and their just conversation. And so I taped again, and I played it like she wasn't really taking off her kimono, and like it was just that.
Equals.
Yeah. And they liked me. And so once that happened, I was like, okay, this is the type of women that we haven't been able to see, that I'm sure Japanese women, when they watch it, will see themselves reflected in. So it was really important to me. And in the end, with that bath scene, we actually had Blackthorn in the bath, in the hot spring, but my character just walking in and sitting down and gazing outwards. And it's even more intimate because, that there's nothing physical about it. So yeah, I'm just very lucky that we're finally being able to give a portrayal of real Japanese women.
I love that.
Yeah, I love brilliant.
What are the sort of roles, or perhaps it's terms, triggering terms and character descriptions that make you all say, like, not going to do this?
Broken but beautiful. Or beautiful but she doesn't know it.
That one came so easily to you.
I was ready. I've read that so many times. I read that last week probably. Beautiful but doesn't know it. I'm like, how? But you're telling me.
Yeah, but I do know it.
I cross everything out anyway.
You.
Yeah.
Stage directions.
Yeah, I was taught to cross stuff out. Like early, I was just like, because it's very result.
Yeah.
It may be a nice guide, but you don't want to be confined
Locked in,
by it.
yeah,
And I think, and you may have a better idea, or the director might, or so, and that's there to fall back on. But if you want to really find it, then you kind of have to go, maybe doesn't walk out of the room right now. I mean, sort of similar to what you were talking about. Maybe doesn't take the kimono off. Maybe doesn't do, because then sometimes that can map out some magic.
I don't know that this is as true now as it was, for most of my career, but I was always just shocked and amazed that so many of the scripts that I read, the entire motivation for the female character was that she'd been traumatized by rape. That it seemed to be the only motivation that male screenwriters could come up with for why women did things. It's like, well,
That were like the
she's
hero
kind of in
in
a bad mood.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely some rape in her
raped.
past. Oh my God. Rape or molestation seemed to be the one kind of lurid, big emotional backstory that they could understand in women, that they couldn't really find complexity, or they couldn't really understand that we have conflict and that there's parts of us that are ambivalent, and we may show one way but be lying, and so I didn't take it personally.
Right.
I think once I was able to be old enough to be able to say, like, let's look at this differently, I think I did have a responsibility to come in and say, you're not always going to get the most perfectly fleshed out female character, but maybe there's an opportunity for us to work together and create something that way.
Yeah.
And which is why also I think now we're all working hard to put women at the helm, because that's a really, the viewpoint suddenly becomes very different, and there's a conversation that happens off camera, before camera, about the project, that then you go, oh, right, okay, good. So you're going to help create the path for this, which was like when Lulu Wang came on to do Expats, she was like, this is what's going to happen because I know this. And this is how it's going to happen because I know this. And there's something incredibly freeing when there's a woman going,
The trust.
these are the characters, this is how I'm going to, and incredible authority, and then you go, I'm going to step into line with that because you've got my back.
Yeah, you feel protected in that. Anne Hathaway said something recently that I found both surprising and quite disturbing. Back in the 2000s, she said, it was considered normal to ask an actor to make out with other actors to test for chemistry. I was told, we have 10 guys coming in today, and you're already cast. Aren't you excited to make out with them? She wasn't excited, of course. So perhaps you are surprised.
No,
Okay.
I've never had that ever said to me.
I'm curious if there are other
To
variations
be excited
of
to make
this.
out with someone, I think
like
maybe
a- like a
secretly
chemi-
I've
like
been excited.
Do you mean like chemistry reads?
That's what she's
I always
referring
say
to.
you're not allowed to
But
say
Yes.
I haven't been told like
No.
you're gonna have to
her chemistry.
lay down and
Oh, no.
Simulate.
yes, no,
No, nor
for an
she.
audition.
never,
Yeah,
and
no,
I would
yep.
never. That I would say no.
Wait,
you
that was-
have.
Just once, yeah.
And what
It was awkward.
A bunch
It
of
was very
a
awkward.
bunch of people that may or may
And,
not get the job.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't get the job, so I clearly did not do a good
you-
makeout. Yeah.
I thought you meant like someone. I see what you're. I thought you meant as the hired actor.
No, I
were
was
going
being
to be-
auditioned.
Oh, I see.
Oh, you were
That
being
was it.
auditioned.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, with
Yeah.
a very well-known actor, and I didn't get it, and it was mortifying because we didn't hear a cut, and it just kept going.
Yeah, that is.
And then he was like, okay, and we both were like, sorry, we didn't hear, and it was just like, it was. But I did feel a bit rattled. by
Yeah, I
it.
bet.
Yeah.
The whole idea of a chemistry read is in itself an uncomfortable thing, because if you don't have chemistry, that is uncomfortable. And presumably you see these people again.
Also, chemistry is like you cannot have chemistry.
Yeah, and make
on
it.
screen it's made.
Yes.
Honestly,
baffling.
it is. I
So
mean,
true.
that's a fallacy. There's a way you can shoot things. There's a way. I mean, that's. I think just relying on chemistry, that's lazy.
Yeah.
There's the writing, there's the interaction, and then there's the director stepping in and going, this is actually going to work better, and I think here, and, you can literally be directed through. And when you
create an
look at the
atmosphere.
films that have great love scenes, they were very directed a lot of the times. When you talk about them, they're like, oh no, it was complete. It was choreographed a lot of times, and people underestimate the power of acting with that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Also, it's not very. It feels not right because when you're in an audition room, you're already at a disadvantage because how do you even if you probably maybe might have chemistry with this person if you weren't in an environment.
Yes, right.
It's like create your chemistry, ready go. It's hard enough just to walk into. I mean, for me, I'm a terrible auditioner. Always was.
Same.
Horrible, and I waitress forever before I could finally get something
Right.
like
Really?
a Bob's Big Boy commercial. So it was, but that's always, so then if you're a nervous auditioner to begin with, to then say, now let's have you make out with a complete stranger.
Yeah.
But it's a
Yeah.
very uncomfortable,
impossible.
and it's very unrealistic to expect that you're going to get a beautiful chemistry read in that.
I think
Yeah.
that's
Auditioning.
direct me.
Yes.
yeah.
I mean, some
Music
people,
on something.
some people, I don't know if you guys remember, like, who has done a lot of auditioning or not, but some people are really good at it. But I was a shocking auditioner. Like, literally, I could feel the energy in the room where people were like, hurry this along. And I would even go, yeah, don't worry, I'm out of your way in 1 second. Literally, you don't even have to look me in the eye, just shake my hand. No, it's fine. I'll just get out of here. I was horrible. And that's why I was basically unhireable for 10 years. And it took meeting David Lynch, who's a master of filmmaking. And he just sat and looked at me and talked and said, tell me about yourself. And I fell into it, this conversation. I was like, wait, you want to take time with me? You want to know shit about me and how I was raised and, all of that? And he was sitting there smoking and saying, tell me more, Naomi, tell me. That sounds fascinating. And then I got the job. I didn't even have to audition. He just wanted to talk. It was
Incredible.
yeah.
Sophia, you referenced this idea of what it takes to do a drama. I feel like you've talked about this idea of playing Griselda and you'd come home with her rage. Mad as hell, I think is how you've described it. I'm curious of what that's looked like for whoever has felt that. How did it manifest
Well,
itself?
for me, it was very, very difficult and different. And the first 3 weeks, mainly, I didn't know what was happening to me. Because, I had those 3 things that were weird for me, that I was acting first in Spanish. I had never used prosthetics ever. And it was my first drama. I've only done really Modern Family. So I thought I didn't know what I was walking into. And when I arrived, I realized this is different. This is hard when you have to cry and kill and choke and snort cocaine and drink alcohol. And, I had never even in my life touched a cigarette. Never. And I had to learn. And to learn at 50 years old to smoke, and you're going to be in every single scene smoking. I was like, huh? It's like, how am I going to make that? How? And so I'll just do whatever. And I let the director help me with everything. But then the first 3 weeks I would go home and I didn't know what was wrong with me.
What would it feel like? What would it look like?
It was like I couldn't fall asleep, but because I was screaming, I was like mad. I had never cried on anything. I mean, you don't cry on Modern Family. No. So then I was crying on a set. Then you go home and I didn't know what was happening to me. So I decided I'm going to take Xanax to go to sleep, because then I had, to wake up the next day to go again, super early. So I said, it's either I start sleeping or I'm going to die. It's like, so I started taking a little bit of Xanax and then understanding and talking to Nancy. It's like, Nancy, I don't know if I'm going to survive this. It's like, you're an actress now.
But it's so interesting because the way she works is, you're unlocking some stuff that you have been sort of put very wonderfully down into the depths of your body.
For me, my whole life, I come from Colombia. I've had a lot of crazy stories. Why I knew I could do Griselda. I had it all, but those were the things that my whole life to keep my sanity.
You're tucked away.
Yeah. And then here comes this woman and tells me, okay,
Bring it out.
I was like, Nancy, I'm not gonna be able to cry no matter what. I only laugh. I can only cry when I'm laughing. Like I don't know how to cry. She's like, you gotta do it.
And then you don't stop.
And then I did it the first time and like, I think I'm gonna cry in every scene now. It's like if they were like the director is like, do you want me to cry in this one? I was like, no, why would you be crying? You're opening the refrigerator and telling the guys that they need to leave. It's like, so it was a very crazy experience for me.
Sure.
Because it was everything new. But I did it. It was 6 months. I thought it changes you a little bit. I don't know how you guys do it all the time, those dramas. It's like comedy is so much
Need to
nicer.
recover.
I agree.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a dream.
Have you guys, presumably you've
I've done almost no comedies in my life, and I do enjoy them. I enjoy them for the first 2 weeks, and then after 2 weeks, I'm like, I can't do this one more minute longer. I think it's that energy, the sort of enforced energy that you have to find. I find drama much easier.
I do too. But is it because it's your wheelhouse, like that you've been doing that? Like I feel nervous in that I'm gonna screw up the joke. Like the joke is coming. Oh God, panic, and
I think it's an introvert thing. I think I'm genuinely an introverted person. So I think in order to keep the energy of on the set, you need to be a more extroverted person. It's just not natural to me at all. So after 2 weeks, I'm exhausted.
right.
But are you bringing home the dramas? Like when you are
Bring home
playing
the dramas. I think so. No, I don't. First of all, none of us know what we're doing. I don't know if anybody told you, but none of us know what we're doing.
Nobody knows how to act.
And that's really the beauty of it, I think, is to have that freshness of doubting yourself, of walking and going, I don't know if I'm going to be able to. That's what performance is. Like they say action and it may come and it may not. And the real meditation is accepting that and being able to relax. So, now at 60, I have to say I feel so blessed at 60 because my role now is to come in and be like, don't worry about it.
Been there, done that.
Yeah, because that's the only thing you really do have to learn over time is just how to relax and allow. And young people have a hard time with that.
Sure.
In their 20s.
Yeah. Nicole, I remember the last time you did a roundtable, you were talking for Big Little Lies, and you were coming home from a day at work and throwing a rock through a door. Are those still, I mean, and you haven't, you continue to play. You did. You did. And you
Because it was locked and I couldn't get in, so I threw the rock.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you have not, you've not
I've
stopped?
never done that in my life. I was so, obviously pent up. I broke the whole thing. It cost a fortune to replace. And then I went back the next day and I said to Alexander and Jean-Marc, I threw a rock through the window. And they were like, whoa. Yeah. Watch out. I said, I was kind of pissed off. I'm actually pissed off. Because I think there's a way in which we operate where the show must go on and you just keep going. That's part of you show up and you do it and you do it and you do it and you do it. And a lot of times, they're 6 months, it's 12, 14-hour days, and there really isn't the time to go and I need to take care of myself. It's quick, get home, get to bed to get back there. Yeah.
And you keep playing the darkest of
No,
dark
I
roles.
don't. After Expats, I went and did a comedy because I was like, I kind of went crazy with my own psychology and I went, this is unhealthy. And it's something that I think we need to talk about as actors, because protecting your body so you can live to be for as long as you're going to be given on this earth, there is an amount of protection that you need to learn.
Because I always thought when
it's
I
very
was
tough on
doing
the
it,
psyche.
Yeah, it's like, how does the body doesn't know that you're going through that? At that moment.
doesn't.
That feeling, that
yeah.
horrible thing. It's like, how does it not know? It's like putting the body into a stress the whole time. I mean, it's.
But the idea of being able to go and get a massage or
Yeah.
some sort of thing that you go, okay, have a hot bath and just go, it's okay. And so much of probably everyone sitting at this table is like that pat on the back, just someone touching you and going, it's okay. And when you're not getting the
Teared
scene,
up when you just said that.
yeah,
Gets me choked up when you
like,
just said that.
it's so, like the reach out for each other is so important. And then also that thing of what you were saying, which is relax, because you can show up no matter what work you've done and be shocking, really bad. And everyone's going, yikes, this is not what we thought. And the scene isn't working. And you have this director looking at you with eyes like, what? But the relaxation and the ability to know it's going to happen, it will happen, is one of the
No
greatest
amount of
things.
anxiety makes you
Yeah,
better.
no. And that is not the way to go. It's okay, we're going to get there, no matter how stressful, no matter how tough the role is. I'll shut up now.
No,
I will not say another word.
it really is. Brie, in Lessons in Chemistry, you play a character that men inherently distrust and dislike for no reason other than the fact that she is a woman. Is that right? I guess I couldn't help but see the correlation between how.
Oh, okay.
Is this where you think it's going?
I'm scared. Let's keep going.
Okay. Couldn't help but see the correlation between what your character experiences and what you, as you sort of navigate the sort of superhero Marvel world, has experienced.
Well, I don't know if it's specific to Marvel. I think that's just, I only know my experience, and my experience is being underestimated at times.
Yeah.
So,
Do you draw from that in a character like this?
of course. I think the best I've been able to find with characters I play is that they're all me.
Yeah.
It's just like a mixing board. It's like if you've ever watched, like, I don't know, a musician and they're mixing their music and it's like, oh, that's that lever. And I'm just messing with those. There's things that are living inside of you that I don't know if you would have given a life to without it. And sometimes they're really beautiful, and sometimes they're sad, sometimes they're scary, sometimes they make you stay up at night. But all of those things, I feel like my life is it's so enriched. Yeah, it's been so enriched by it. And I think the hardest part for me has not been committing to the characters, it's getting out of them.
Do you have tricks? Like, do you have a...
Yeah, I basically haven't done anything as dark as Sense Room because it took me like a year to get out of it. And I didn't go to school for acting. I don't know how to do this job either. And so I spent 9 months creating that character and living that character, and then I was back at home and I didn't know how to exist in the world anymore. And it was really scary. And so it took me a long time to be able to just do basic things that I used to enjoy in my life. And so after that, it was like 5 years of purposely picking jobs where I felt like it was safe for me to try out new techniques. It was safe for me to try and figure out, okay, how can I do things so that I go home and feel just a little bit better and slowly start edging myself?
Like feeling like you.
Yeah, because it doesn't stop. It doesn't stop. And you hope that you have the grace of a line producer who has scheduled it to where there's moments where you can offload. Like Lessons in Chemistry, I didn't have that so much, especially with the character that like won't let anybody see her emotions. So I eventually just was like, you have to put a pop-up tent on set, and that's like where I'm gonna go cry. Because sometimes it feels so intense and you have everyone going like, don't cry still, don't cry. And you're like, I can't, whatever you see on camera, which is like, could be a 60-second scene, I've been doing for 3 days, I can't do it anymore. And so you have to find ways to learn how to offload. You have to find what works for you. But to me, that's always been the biggest challenge and what keeps me from doing. Drinking.
Everyone's got their thing.
Yeah, but that's always been the thing I'd say for myself that has kept me from doing like dramatic roles in that way. And I feel like I'm just at the point where I feel like I could do it, where I feel like I have enough. I trust myself with the technique that I have now that I could do it.
How do you decide sort of what pieces of you, the real you, to share? I'm going to turn to you because I feel like we're in this moment where I hear as much of you talking about your acting career as I do hearing you talk about your sort of struggles with menopause, and you do it with grace and humor. And I think I've heard you say that was something that you were nervous about initially talking about publicly. How do you decide when so much of you want to keep private, you want to keep guarded, that you decide this is going to be the thing I share? And I think a lot of you have done this in different ways.
Yeah, I mean, I started late also, by Hollywood standards, I would say. I didn't try to start late. It just wasn't hired for a long time. But I started getting work in my Mulholland Drive was 29, and then it sat on a shelf, and then it was like 31 when I finally launched. So, and I was told also, it's going to be over by 40. So work. And then, unfortunately for me, when I was at the precipice of wanting to start a family, I was 36. I was told I was close to menopause. And so I went into this frantic panic, a lot of shame and fear. And mercifully, for whatever reason, I'm skipping through a lot, I was able to have children, and but then went straight into menopause, hardcore symptoms in my early 40s after my second child. And still felt very ashamed and felt like if I ever dared to mention that word, I would be branded as, redundant, finished, off to pasture, go to the sidelines. You're not sexy. There's no way you can act anymore. That's, it'd be career suicide to bring that into the room. But then I was like, this makes no sense. We're half the population. Everybody's going to go into menopause at some point or another. Why shouldn't we be talking about it? And when you learn about the symptoms and how long they can go on for, why can't we find the support? Why can't, and it's not just the physiological support you need, it's the emotional support, like families break down, the workplace stuff happens, like if people get afraid they're going to get phased out, or, and you've got your aging family members, you've got a lot of things that are making you vulnerable at that point, and then have that to collide with, a self that you no longer know anymore and not sure that is going to ever return, was just fascinating to me, that it wasn't an available discussion. So I just went, fuck this, like, let's just talk about it. And in terms of my career, I felt like, well, if it spooks everyone, that's a bummer. Right. But, hopefully it actually does the opposite and elongates the career, because, someone's got to play the old lady. And I think, the longer the life, the richer the stories. And there's lots to examine. We need to, do whatever we can to expand the female story and at every point.
That goes back to your earlier question, what would you have loved your earlier self for someone to prepare you for?
Yeah.
That would have been a nice bit of information.
Yeah.
Because it's like you go into it sort of blindly, like what some alien's taking over your body.
Yes. Yeah.
And it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So, and it affects you in your life and in your work. So that would have been a good piece of information. If we
Yeah.
shared.
So for your generation,
It's gonna happen to you too.
Coming for you.
and we don't have to play just the cranky old scary ladies anymore. We can,
You like those roles?
Cranky, scary ladies.
You're welcome. Send those your way.
I'll play them too, but like we can also do other things, without that sort of ridiculous.
But it is, you just sort of decide what it is you're going to let people in on, and in your case, there was something for all to gain from that. But whether it is, challenges with fertility, whether it is, why you got a divorce. These are things that I feel like some of you are talking about in a way that perhaps you weren't before.
Because the older that you get, the more fuck it you get.
Yeah, exactly.
You just do.
It's true.
Just do.
It's very
But
true.
boundaries are important, and that is one of the
100%.
things that I talk about with younger actors is how to survive intact,
Yeah.
and not just your career intact, but emotionally and psychologically, how to be a strong person and to care about yourself enough to set boundaries so that you're not eaten up.
Sustainable.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot being asked of you.
Yeah, who are the people in this industry who have sort of helped you, guide you in some of those lonelier moments of this life?
Toni Collette was like my first hero mentor. She was I was just completely obsessed with her when I was homeschooling myself, like dreaming of being an actress. And then like my first, like, I'd say like true job, I was 18 and it was to play her daughter, and it felt like destiny. And so scary, like the mix of all the good things, like, oh, I'm going to be so challenged and I'm so scared. And luckily I had auditioned for like 10 years at that point. I was like a professional auditioner, but like didn't really have a chance. So I was prepared. I was as prepared as I could be. And I got to have 3 years with her. And so that became like massively important. And then over the years, like going out of my way to make friends with other women in the industry, because it started going like, wait, there's always usually just like one woman on a job. I was always the only one. And you go like, oh yeah, I don't even know. Like there's things that make me uncomfortable, or things that I'd like to change, or things I'd like to laugh about.
Yep.
And connecting with other women in the industry has been like a game changer for me, because you get to swap stories and understand and connect, and it's just the greatest. It's the best.
True. It's so true. Relying on your female co-stars and being able to reach out and just say, and not having to do with the work, but just like life. I mean, when we did that movie in Hawaii, you helped me out on a lot of really hard things I was going through, you know, and just to have that community, it's very helpful.
Do you feel like you've found that yet? Are there people who are guiding you along? Or have we just found them? Or are these 6 women about to be them?
I found them. I've not had enough experience to be like my journey and like this person has helped me so much. It's like little bits of advice from a lot of my co-stars and a lot of people behind the scene. But I actually have a question, because now you do meet so many female people on set. But growing up in the industry, like, how was that for you?
I never saw another female face, except for the lady who played my mom and possibly the makeup or hair. But in the old days, those were also men.
But then how do you navigate?
Well, you know, I had these wonderful brothers and fathers, and I always stop, and I'm always grateful for them, because they taught me the lessons of film sets. You know, they were like, you know, you write thank you notes, or this is how we do the focus. That somehow I felt like those brothers and fathers, and they were a family. And then little by little, as women came on to movie sets, it was just this fantastic thing that there would be one other female person on set, and then there would be 2, and then maybe 3. And I think that kept growing, except there were never female directors.
See, I met Jane Campion.
Yeah,
when I
you're
was
lucky you
young,
did.
and so I was like, wow. And she was the star of her film school.
Yeah.
So we'd all go and go, oh my God, did you see? You'd go and see their student films, because they would show their films at the end of the year or halfway through the year, and she was the one. You'd see her.
Amazing.
Yeah, there'd be like Girls on Story, and then going and auditioning for her. And she was rigorous. I mean, so it was a powerful woman too. It wasn't a wallflower woman. It was she was right there, and everyone would do what she said. So it was a great role model.
And there is this sort of misconception that somehow female actresses are like, they're at each other, they don't like each other, or whatever. I mean, even this year of going to the various events and things, it always just feels so nice, because the women really feel like they want each other to succeed. I've never had one moment where I ever felt that there was a woman who didn't want me to succeed. And we all interface with each other. So, Nicole, I took over from a movie that you had to leave.
Yeah, thank you. I was in a really bad way. And I was like, I'm having a breakdown.
We are all...
And Jodie took over. Thank the Lord.
But we all care about each other in a way, and so that whole I almost feel like it's some guy had this idea that women just want to break each other down, and that just hasn't been my experience.
It's also the energy that you set, because if you go in and go, it's okay, if you're told you're safe, it's okay, and whatever emotions you're feeling, and you can feel jealous, you can feel these things, that's normal. We'll work through it together. I grew up with sisters and a very strong feminine energy in the house, so it was always like, yeah, there's a gamut of emotions here, but you're allowed to feel them, and we're going to work through them together. But reach out, because we're here to help.
That's a gift. That is truly a gift to be able to have that.
I mean, definitely Nick has been a guiding force, and this is a, sorry
too
to
for
age us,
me.
but a 40-year friendship.
Like, amazing.
You know, ups
Did
and
not
downs.
start in acting, started.
No, down at the pub.
Keep going.
Everything. But and if the mentors aren't there available on the set, or you know, watching our mentors, and if I can gush a little bit, Jodie,
Yes.
I mean. Watching you, I mean, there were lots before you, and we're only a few years apart, but just your career was obviously so underway for such a long time, and you changed my life. Your performances, like I still remember, like a cues that I mean, I'm gonna how you.
started.
How
What's
did you do
incredible
that?
is
How?
that you're who you are as a human being today, and
so well
having started
adjusted.
as a child.
Yeah. So yeah.
The generation before us kept telling us that things were just going to get worse for us and you hit 40 and it's over. And I have to say, I have never been as happy as an actor as when I turned 60. That there's just some kind of contentedness about it not being all about me. And walking onto a set and saying, how may I serve you? How can my experience or my whatever my wisdom is, you know, how can I serve you? And bringing that to the table, not only is it more fun and more freeing, but it's also easy. It's super easy because you're not filled with anxiety about the things that maybe younger people are filled with anxiety about, and you have a lot to learn from them. So we have
Did
a lot-
I read that you
Can
were
we
done
talk-
with doing leads, or like you just?
I just got bored with it. I think I
You
got
went to
bored
college.
with.
Did you stop for a while? and went
I
to
never
school?
stopped when I went to school. I did do. I did 6 movies while I was in college. Oh
my God.
I'm not sure they were very good.
She was like,
But yeah, I think that I learned so much also from new voices. You know, from seeing your character, for example, in Shogun, but you know, seeing new characters with different voices that have now finally been given the freedom to air themselves, and I want to hear them, and I want to support them, and whatever wisdom I have about helping those voices, then I feel like it's just so much more fun than being the one person who's, you know, number one on the call sheet from beginning to end that has to carry the burden of the narrative, but also meaning that there are rules about how much you can give.
And you can change their narrative too, and not.
Jen's career. Let's talk about it.
I wasn't a baby.
No, but you have sustained an enormous career
I don't know
success.
It's a talent. I'm just
It's called talent.
So every time I get to sit, like I'm sitting here, I was nervous. I mean, I'll start to cry, but you know, I'm motivated. I'm still here. We're still here.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
incredible.
that's why Sophia too, you know, don't be terrorized by the English language. Who said the English language is the most important language? It
I
is.
can barely
There's-
speak the English language.
And there's so many stories to be told that haven't been told.
It's a little bit more work, though. You do have to go more after it and not be scared, and you know, you have to have a certain personality for that not to affect you, though. Right. Because it can be, you know, ridiculous. You know,
Well, you have to make it your superpower.
I made it my superpower. I'm like, I sound like an idiot. I don't care. I'm gonna play an idiot. It's fine.
this is going to sound silly, but I promise you, it is actually going to be revealing about sort of who you are.
Oh, God.
What is the most used emoji on your phone? I can go first. Mine is an eye roll.
Heart.
What color heart?
Red.
Yeah, the red love.
Yeah, and not the little one, the big one that's from the playing.
I'm the same.
Yeah, I like it. It's more graphic.
Not shiny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that is.
Specific.
I'll show you.
What about the rest of you? What do you do?
I have
You do the kiss one. See, this is
kiss
revealing.
with a heart. Kiss with a heart.
I do. I love the bozo.
What's the bozo?
The bozo is just like this crazy clown, but
Oh, the bozo, the clown.
I don't really know what it means, but I put it on things anyway. I don't really know.
I like the one where the eyes are
crazy
just
eyes.
like
Yeah,
going
the
like
rolling
that.
eyes.
There's
Oh,
just,
yeah.
it's
That's yours?
not the eye roll back. It's just so like I don't know what the fuck is happening right now.
Or I forgot, and the other one, the eek one.
Oh, yep.
Oh,
but,
that's-
yep.
I like
Hard
the
to
one
choose
with the
just
bad
one.
words.
The bad words.
Oh, yep.
That has that thing with the
See,
bad
this is
words. Every time
revealing.
they-
What is that one?
You have
Oh,
a
yeah.
you're gonna
Face
like
with
it.
like
With the cross face.
I do
Yeah.
like
tells
I like
everything
the
you wanna
crying and
say.
laughing.
Right, like the sideways guy?
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Upside down.
See, should we cheers and thank you all for being here? I wish it could go on much longer.
Seems to go so quickly.
I know, but some plans.
You have to look in everybody's eyes. There's 7 years of bad sex.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Crazy people.
I don't know about you, but I just love seeing women give each other their flowers. I mean, you get a rose, you get a rose, everybody gets a rose. I'm with you, Jen. This has been a motivating and inspiring conversation. Until next time, I am Yvonne Orji, and this is Off Script with the Hollywood Reporter.